How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be recapping my performance at the 2022 USAPL Liftmas here in Thornton, Colorado. This is my first competition in a little bit over a year, and I had a great performance, so I wanted to recap and kind of give some context into my preparation leading into the meet, what happened at the meet, and then kind of go over my plans moving forward. But before we get into today's video, make sure you hit that like button on the video and make sure to subscribe for weekly in-depth powerlifting content. It really helps out the video and the channel, and so I'd really appreciate that. So let's get into the meet. So I'm recording this intro because I realized that I forgot to record this while at the meet. I did have a cameraman there to help record and take photos, and this is my first time having one there, and I completely forgot to record things there. So he got a little bit of behind the scenes stuff, but not a ton. And so next time I'll make sure to actually record this type of content while I'm actually at the meet. So for now, I'm gonna include this sort of intro segment, kind of going over some context and prep leading into the meet, and then we'll go into the meet videos themselves. So getting into the meet prep itself, for those of you who don't know, this was my first meet as a dad. I had my firstborn son a little over a year ago, and so that was actually my last competition before this one was in September of 2021. My son was born in October of 2021, and so I haven't competed since then. And in fact, I actually took a complete break from training after the meet in September. It was the first week of September, and I took a break from training for about 4 months, from September until about January, just to adapt to being a new parent, as well as to make sure I was just giving all my time and attention to my family. Because leading into that meet before my son was born, I had a full-time job, I was coaching, and I were also prepping for a meet, which was a lot to juggle at one time, and it really was very draining, and definitely made it so I was go all the time, and I was away a lot. And so I wanted to make sure that I was very present for my family. I really started training again in January, and I was really only training 3 days a week for the majority of this year, which normally I train about 4 days a week, if not 5 days a week. And so 4 days, only training 3 days a week was definitely a little bit of a lower dose of training for me. For the first couple months, it was plenty of training to get me back up to my old numbers. But then after I kind of gotten back to where I was, only training 3 days a week definitely became a challenge in terms of doing enough work in order to push progress. Those 3 sessions became very, very long, but overall it was still a good prep overall. I was following the shifting the curve program from the strength guys as sort of a base template for what I wanted to do, and then I made small adjustments here and there based off of my own preference and stuff like that. So the way the program ended up working was it was a 3-day program. I had an SBD day on Monday and Friday, or my day 1 and day 3, and then the middle day was a third bench day with belt squats and some other accessories. So squatting twice a week, benching 3 days a week, and then deadlifting twice a week. And so I did that all the way leading into the competition. I was able to, there's an off-season program and an in-season program, both ranging 12 weeks. And so I was able to run both of those consecutively leading into the competition, which helped me build a lot of momentum. Leading into the meet, I wanted to play a little bit more conservatively and just shoot to try to go 9 for 9 and really have a fun time at the meet. I was hoping just to chip all of my PRs by 2.5 kilo. My training numbers had suggested that I should be able to do that. And so my previous personal bests were a 210 kilo squat, which is 463 pounds, a 142.5 kilo bench, which is a 315 bench press in pounds, and then for the deadlift, 215 kilos, 475 pounds essentially. So my goal was just to chip all of those by 2.5 kilos, which would be a 468 squat, a 319 bench, and then a 479 deadlift. That was if I could do that, I was gonna be very happy, just because my training, while it had been productive, it was limiting in terms of I was only able to train 3 days a week. Just my ability to train was definitely limited, and so I knew I had the potential to chip everything, and that if I taking those small wins would be very, very valuable momentum moving forward into 2023, as well as it would allow all the training numbers I was doing suggested I should be able to do that. And so it took the pressure off of me of trying to shoot for these really big numbers. And so that way I could go into the meet, just kind of focus on having fun, executing well, and just trying to lift well and represent myself well on the platform. And one of the big reasons why I compete in the first place is I'm not a very competitive lifter. I'm not going to be hitting the top ranks even at a local competition, but I compete, one, for myself to show progress. It helps keep me motivated. It's really, really fun to do, but I can also sometimes take it very seriously, and I almost get into like a machine type mode. Especially in my last meet, I focused too much on the numbers and not as much on having fun. So this time around, I wanted just to focus more on having fun and taking lifts I knew I could get, as well as I wanted to I like to compete because it helps me remember what it's like to go through a prep, the ups and downs physically and emotionally, what it's like being in the warm-up room, managing all those emotions, so that I can better connect and coach my athletes through all those situations. Because if I don't regularly touch that, it's easier to forget what that feels like, even though I know theoretically what that feels like. Because I've experienced it in the past, I think it's still good to touch up on that every now and again to make sure I'm staying in touch with that, and also just lead from the front, show my athletes that I can still make my own progress, I can still represent well, and show them I don't just talk the talk, but I can also walk the walk as well. So all those things are very important to me and to why I continue to compete. So let's get into the meet.
How are you feeling?
Feeling good. Let's get it.
So warming up for squat, I felt pretty good. Wasn't feeling exceptionally strong, but wasn't feeling weak. Luckily, I didn't have to cut weight for this meet. I weighed in at 94.5 kilos, which is just my walking around weight. So overall, I was feeling pretty good about warm-ups. Strength was feeling on point, and I felt like I was right in line to hit that 2.5 kilo PR of 212.5 kilos that I had planned. Also, thank you very much to Sydney and Mountain Man Performance for helping me in the warm-up room, as well as Troy from CUPL for showing up to help me in the warm-up room as well. And you'll see later, he was a very big help when it comes to deadlifts.
Let's go, Weston. Come on, baby.
Go, Weston. He's coaching after people here.
So wrapping up squats, everything went according to plan, hit all of my target numbers, all moved very well, so I'm very, very happy with that. I definitely could have added another 2.5 kilos onto my third, but I didn't want to get greedy, especially knowing that I bench and deadlift to get through, and if I overdo it on squat, then that's definitely going to bleed into the next lifts. So hitting a nice 2.5 kilo PR and having it move really well like that definitely built a lot of confidence leading into the rest of the meet, because I felt very strong, and so I felt like that was a good sign that I was peaked really well and that I'd be very strong going into my next lifts. So warming up for bench, my biggest concern was my arch and actually sticking to the bench. My gym that I normally train at is predominantly rogue pads or exclusively rogue pads, and so it allows me to get a really big arch and great leg drive. But that positioning is not something I can recreate on like an Alico, which is something I trained on 2 weeks ago before this meet. And so I was just concerned about my positioning here, wondering how well my strength was going to transfer over. And actually, it went very well to where I was able to get a great position on the ER rack, and I felt very strong. So overall, I think that I was very well prepared here, and I was happy with how everything was feeling in the warm-up room.
The lift out of silver, rack height 14, out of silver.
So wrapping up bench press, I was able to tie my all-time best of 142.5 kilos or 315. I was not able to squeeze out the extra 2.5 kilos for that PR, but ultimately I'm still very happy with how I did. Normally, I bench 4 times a week to really get my bench press going. So the fact that I was able to time my personal best with only a 3-day-a-week frequency is still very, very good, and gives me room to go up next year as I transition back to 4 times a week and start to ramp that back up. Overall, I felt like my positioning was really great here. Actually, my touch and technique on my 320 or my 145 kilo bench was actually my favorite of all the lift. I felt like my leg drive was really good. I felt that my touch and my descent was really, really good. And I actually got it further off my chest than I did last time I attempted it in competition, but just did not have the strength to get it there. I think that the taper, my bench doesn't like tapering. I think that every time I've done a taper, my bench does worse versus when I'm just in training and I train up to the lift, my bench feels the strongest. So I think next time I'm literally just not going to taper my bench. I'm just going to train my bench up into the competition and try to do it like that, because I think I would be much stronger doing that. I think the taper just always takes away like 2.5 kilos from me. So that's kind of my plans moving forward for bench press. So going into deadlifts, I was definitely starting to get a little bit tired. It was approaching 7 o'clock, and I had been up since 5 a.m. handling a lifter in the morning session. So fatigue was definitely starting to settle in, but luckily I had a Rain energy drink that I could chug, had lots of Gatorade and other snacks to fuel me up. And then also had my friends in the back helping support me. And you'll see here I accidentally completely whiff on Charlie. So sorry, my dude. Totally did not see you there. But so my warm-ups weren't feeling exceptionally great to me. But you'll see here my athlete Troy, who has helped me in the warm-up room, was saying, "Nah, dude, you look great today. You look like you have 500." And 500 has been a goal number I've been chasing for a long time. That he knew I was trying to go for it. And originally going to meet, I didn't think I was going to have 500 in the tank, but you'll see here that we end up loading up what was supposed to be my opener as the last warm-up, and I take in the warm-up room just to see how it goes. It felt well, so I go, you know what the hell, I'll go for it. So I go to the score table and I bump up my opener by 10 kilos from 197.5 to 207.5 and decide to YOLO it. And so you'll see what happens next.
I can have Angus and Joshua Vaughn up here with their IDs, please.
All right, so they made you do 500. How do you?
I'm a little emotional right now. That's been a number I've been chasing since 2017. Wow. He had it the whole time. He had it. He was there.
So wrapping up deadlift, I was very, very surprised that I had 500 on the day. Warming up, as I mentioned, they didn't feel exceptionally great, but they didn't necessarily feel bad. They just kind of felt hard. But luckily, I did have Troy there to help reinforce that, hey, it was looking good that day. And luckily, Troy has been with me for about like 2 years now, and he's seen my lifts. He knows what they look like, and so he was really able to like help me get out of my own head and be like, no, you look fast today. Even watching my own videos, I don't necessarily think I look that fast. So maybe it was a little bit of him blowing some smoke up my ass, but clearly he was right. So we took my opener in the warm-up room, and it felt okay. It felt good. So I was like, you know what the hell? I'll take it. I really wanted to focus on having fun, right? And so I was like, you know what? I would rather walk away with trying, because I knew I had the 217 and a half kilos, but I didn't know how much more I was going to have. I didn't necessarily feel exceptionally great. So I'm like, well, even if I only get my first and second, that will still get me a PR. And so I will at least secure the PR, even if it's not because I was already a 9 for 9 performance is already out the window. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just go for it. So I go up to the score table and I up my opener by 10 kilos, which is a very scary feeling when it's not like a planned strategy, like, oh, we put in a low opener to like, to be like a shadow, right? Like, no, I'm literally YOLOing this right now. I'm upping my opener by 10 kilos, even though I'm not 100% confident. That was kind of a scary thing to do, but I remember turning to Troy and Tristan, who were in the warm room with me, and I go, it's there. And they knew. They're like, yeah, it's there. So we put in 227.5 kilos, and I go like stand in the corner. I'm just staring. I'm listening to my music. I'm getting hyped. I actually bought an ammonia to use at this meet. I like almost never use ammonia, but I wanted it just for deadlifts, just in case. So I tried taking it on my second attempt, but I didn't get it. It was the ammonia I bought was supposed to be like extra strength, so I was a little nervous going in for the first sniff, and so I actually didn't get that big of a sniff on my second attempt, which is the first one I used it for. And so I was able to get a much better like puff of ammonia going to my third. Really felt that. I was listening to all my favorite music. The way I timed it was I had Down with the Sickness, which is like my ultimate hype song. I almost never listened to it because I want it to be like very special. So and it's really just the opening, that build up of the drums, that do 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 do, and then that beat drop, and it goes, oh wow. I'm probably gonna edit that out, but that just gets me so incredibly hyped. And so I timed it up to where after the bar was loaded, I started playing that song. I started chalking my hands. He gave me the nose torque, and I hit the nose torque right as the bass drop, or as the beat dropped, and that sound goes off. And so then I took out the headphones, walk onto the platform. You see I even have chalk on my ear because my hands were so chalky. After taking my headphones out, I approached the bar with all the confidence in the world, and I knew I had it. It wasn't one of those like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get this. Is kind of a dumb attempt. Like I truly knew that it was there today, and I had to seize the day, which is, if you've noticed, that's actually what the logo I have printed on the sleeve of my shirts, which is seize the day. That's what I tell all of my athletes on game day. It's that this is the day to take those attempts. This is the day this is when you are going to go after it. This is your time. Seize the day. Don't let the opportunity slip away. And so I was very thankful to have Troy in the back there, because if it wasn't for Troy, I would have ended the day with 217.5 kilos as my third, and I would have been very disappointed. I would have been like, wow, I probably had 500 on the day, and I didn't take it. So I was very thankful to have him there, and that's why it is so beneficial to have a coach or a handler in the room with there, especially someone who knows you and knows, like, they know your lifts. They can give you honest feedback and not just the bullshit, oh yeah, that looked great, go up 10 kilos when you only had 2.5, right? So I was very, very thankful for Troy for being there and really pushing me to get that, because that was, as you saw in that last clip, that was a very emotional PR for me. Deadlift is not my best lift by far, and I've been chasing 500 what feels like forever. I hit 475 in 2019, but even since then I hit 455. My first meet ever in 2015, I pulled 411. And then it's taken me from 2015 to 2022. It's taken me 7 years to go from 400 to 500. Like, I do not make progress fast, right? And so for me to finally hit that 500-pound deadlift, which was the next big milestone, it really meant a lot to me, and really just lit a fire under my ass. And I'm very excited to continue training and compete again sometime next year. So yeah, I was really, really happy with that meet, as well as my wife was able to bring my son Theodore to watch me lift, just for squats, because he had to go home and take a nap, but that still meant a lot to me. It meant the world to me. And then just all the people who reached out with support, all of my athletes reached out. A lot of the CU lifters reached out. A lot of my friends on social media reached out. So that was very, very nice. Meant a lot. And yeah, that was just one of the most meaningful performances I've had, because it was my first performance as a dad, where I really had to juggle training with being a stay-at-home dad and running a business. It felt like the cards were stacked against me, and I was like, I'm just going to go in and just try to represent myself well. And so to have what felt like an exceptional meet for me really meant a lot, and really built a lot of confidence and motivation in me. So very, very happy with how the meet went, and I'm really looking forward to compete again. I'm going to start doing some more of these more personal, training updates and stuff like that videos, because you guys have been asking for those, and I just haven't gotten around to it. But definitely going to start doing some more of that. So look for some more training updates in the future. If you like the video, make sure to hit that like button. I'll make sure to get more actual behind the scenes footage at the meet next time I do it. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you next time. Peace.